lovely crafty people, and we're back, and it's another day in December, which means another Christmas craft. And today we're going to make these cone trees. If in the UK you've been to any Christmas fairs this year, any craft fairs, you will have seen these cone trees everywhere. And the one local to us, they were charging £15 for one. Admittedly, theirs are made on polystyrene cones, but we're going to use some scraps and we're going to make them out of a cereal box. So I've got a large one and I've got a small one all ready to go, and we're going to make one more. So we've got a trio of Christmas trees. So what you're going to need today is a cereal box or some card. It needs to be not corrugated, because if it's corrugated it will just fold rather than roll. Some green yarn or wool. I've got some of this embroidery kind of wool that I used on that one. Got some chunky knit that I used on that one. And for the next one I'm going to use this wool, which I used in my moss project. And it's like a really fine crochet wool, but it's already been crocheted or knitted or something really finely, and it's lovely. And I'm going to use this magic tool. Now, I don't know how many of you are like me, where you see these gadgets and you think, oh, they're ace, let's get one of them. And then you've never used it. Well, today I'm actually going to use it. Scissors, strong glue, glue stick, masking tape, double-sided tape. It doesn't have to be, you could use glue for it, a peg, a darning needle, and I'm just going to pop a star on the top of mine. You can embellish it in any way you like. I quite like the simplicity of the plain trees. So first things first, I'm going to cut a half circle out of one side of my cereal box. Okay, now if you haven't got one of these tools, you could draw around the bottom of a plate, you could use a compass, anything really that gives you that circular shape. So what I'm going to do is I actually want to make a really big one, so I'm going to move it up to as tall as I can possibly go. Might end up coming off the paper, so it's going to have to come down a bit, about there. So about 28 centimetres, about 10 inches. And with this one, all you do, actually works better the other way, is you hold the middle down and you're going to run the blade. The blade is underneath that bit, and I'm just going to run it. This is why I've barely used it, because it's not easy to use. I'm just going to run it round, and you can see it's cut out a near perfect half circle, semicircle. Okay, so that's all you need that tool for. Be careful, I've lost the cover for mine, and I did cut my hands on that blade a couple of weeks ago when I was sorting out stuff. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to curl it into a cone shape. Now, you want to leave a little hole at the top, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now, you can make this cone shape as narrow or as wide as you feel comfortable. Okay, I'm going to have quite a tall, yeah, it's definitely bigger than that one. Might actually go a little bit narrower. A tall, narrow tree. I'm going to hold that in place, and I'm just going to use some strong glue along that seam. Okay, this Yoo-hoo glue has been used quite a lot in my Christmas crafts. It is quite a strong glue. Just holds stuff, and then I'm just going to pull it round, and I'm going to peg it at the end. Just hold it in place and just push it down and let it dry. Okay, now this bit doesn't really matter because you can trim that up in a bit. All right, but if you use, I know I had the extra bit, which is why it's going to be slightly off kilter, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it up in a bit. Once that's kind of adhered and stuck, using your masking tape, you're just going to put a line over the join so it just smooths it out a bit. You could use sticky tape or washi tape, whatever tape you've got to hand. You're just going to do a line of it along the join, pushing it really down. Okay. I'm just going to fold it under. Do want to keep that hole at the top. That hole at the top is quite important. I'm actually going to put another line of tape on, going over there, just to make sure. And you're going to push it right down. Okay. And actually, it doesn't stand too bad, so I might just leave that. Okay, so you're just going to let that dry. If you want to, you can put a little bit of extra tape around the bottom on the inside just to hold that shape in place. You don't have to. I did on one of them, I didn't on the other, but it doesn't really matter if it comes over. Now, this is the bit that's important. So the reason you left that hole at the top is because you are going to thread your yarn, your wool. You could even do it with ribbon, pipe cleaners, shoelaces, anything, any colour you want, anything you can wrap round. Okay, you could even do it with like crepe paper streamers, you know, like the party streamers we had when we were kids. Showing my age now. And you're just going to thread that through, which isn't necessarily the easiest thing because it's really narrow at the top and I'm trying to get a grip of it. Go, go, go. Where are my tweezers? Might have to use my tweezers. Oh, for goodness sake, woman. I'm just going to push that pin down. Have we come through? Got it, got it, got it, got it. Ah, got it. It's just going to pull it through. Do you know, I have actually got some really long needles that would have worked really well. But you're just going to pull it through underneath and then you're going to tie quite a chunky knot. So what I did is I doubled it over and tied it in a knot. And then I'm going to tie that again. Because what you want to be able to do is pull it back taut through the hole, okay? So you've got your yarn that's like, you know, those old pop-up clown things we had that were really scary when we were kids. I don't know who thought clowns were good for kids, but they are really scary. Okay, so I've got my basic shape, I've got my yarn attached, or wool, depending on where in the world you are. Now I'm going to use my double-sided tape. And I'm just going to run a line of it down the length of the tree. Snip it off. And then I'm going to do one on the opposite side. Down the length of the tree, down the length of the cone, snip it off. And then I'm going to do two more. I might actually do two, yeah, let's do one long one. So to do this, you're actually going to need to start okay, so that's sticky there. Because what you want to do, oh, that one's not stuck, is you want to stick the next two lengths. There you go, there it is. Stuck it. So that they kind of overlap that one at the top. So you're going to do another length. Going up from the top all the way down. And one on the opposite side. And you'll see why I haven't taken the backing paper off the whole thing. So I'm just going to come down. Now in a bit, which is what I had to do on this big green one, I will stick a bit more tape on because you want it to stick as well as possible. So now I can undo these ones, and actually these ones are easier because they do stick to the tape that's already there. It is easier to thread the yarn, the wool in before you put the tape on. You could do it the other way around, but because you'll want to half start peeling the tape. Now, I haven't peeled the tape all the way down because otherwise you're going to end up in a mess. And all you're going to do is start wrapping the wool around the cone, keeping it as close as possible to the loop before. So I'm just wrapping it round, and I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of the cone. When I get to about there, I will put some more tape on, and then we will see what we do at the end. So I'm just going to keep wrapping. Okay, so as soon as you start to get to the bottom, you can see how my cone was a little bit wonky. So all I'm going to do is snip off the excess, and using my scissors, I'm just going to snip round the excess card. Now you don't have to do this, you could just keep wrapping it, but on the large, particularly on the larger ones, you do end up snipping off some of the excess card. Okay, and you'll see I've just got that little bit left. All I'm going to do is run it to about when you run out of when you run out of card, and then I'm just going to tape it in. Now, just remembering what I did do on the other ones, so I'm just going to snip that off a little bit. What I did do on the others for the very last round, particularly towards the end, is I just put a line of glue, and it only needs to be Pritt, because these aren't going outside, they're not toys, so it will hold it. And then that just holds the last little bit on. Okay, just hold it on. You could do this with green string. I've actually got some green and white parcel string, actually. That'd be quite cool. Okay, so you're just gonna ping that down, making sure it's all stuck down. If you want to, you can tuck it inside and add a bit of tape, but there we go. We've got our shape, and actually, because you've put the tape over it, it doesn't show the joins. And what you can do if you want to make it a bit more sturdy is stuff it with toy stuffing, cotton wool, newspaper, and then you can add a base and you can add a stalk to them as well, a trunk. I like them just like this. So last thing I'm going to do, because I want to keep mine quite plain, is I've got these little wooden stars that I picked up years ago, and they've just been sat in my craft drawer, and I finally found a use for them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just put a little blob of glue on the top. You could, you know those bottle lights that you get to put in empty wine bottles, you could thread some of those through the hole in the top with the yarn, and then what you could do is wrap those round as well, and then you can just turn them on and off from underneath. So I'm just going to hold that on there for a minute, just let it dry. So the Yoo-hoo is quite a strong glue, but it does take a little while to dry, and you could use any clear glue for this bit, or you could even sew it on. But there is my, I want to hold it so you can see it. There is my trio of trees. How cute are they? And they are going to just go on the side, and an upcoming video I'm going to show you is to make some peg dolls. I made them last year. I made a whole nativity out of peg dolls, and they're just going to go there, and you can have the figures in with them. They're really cute, and actually I think they'd look really cute with bottle lights. So all I would do is thread the bottle light through and then wrap it round as well. You can use up sequins, you can pop sequins on them. I have got some tiny little bauble decorations that I was sent in Happy Mail. But how easy were those? And at the craft fair, the foam ones we saw, they were charging like £25 for a trio, like those 3 sizes. And we've just made them out of scraps that we got in our stash and a cereal box. So, happy crafting. Not long now. Next week is Christmas. Hope you've managed to get your Christmas shopping done and you're not stressing about it. But how cute would they be stuffed with some sweets as a little gift or a table decoration with some lights and some, yeah, match your colour scheme. Love it. Thanks for watching.